How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the recent elections that happened in Kentucky, Mississippi, and Virginia. And in case you don't know, today is Thursday, November the 6th, 2019. It's a lot to get to. It's a lot of different elections and things to address. I guess I'm going to start from the very beginning with the one that's right now still kind of developing. In Kentucky, the Republican governor has not conceded his defeat yet. He's going against the Democrat Andy Beshear. There's only a 5,000 vote difference in between them. And I think that Matt Bevin has right around 704 to 705,000 votes. So it's a very small number of votes. The quote unquote libertarian may have played the spoiler, but that's a different story. And I digress. He has not quite lost yet, although it looks kind of bad. Democrats are saying this is Donald Trump's fault. He was up before Donald Trump came and did a rally in Kentucky, this, that, and the third. Meanwhile, there's different polls that say different things. Some polls say that he was up. Some polls say he was way down, very unpopular and whatnot. Trump did what he could, but as of right now, it might not have been enough. In Mississippi, you have the Republican governor who is one, and his name is Tate Reeves. He defeated the, I think, Attorney General, Jim Hood, the Democrat. So shout out to him. Congratulations. There were quite a few other initiatives on ballots in different states. Shout out to Arizona, Tucson. They were trying to vote themselves into becoming a sanctuary city. That did not pass. If Democrat controlled, it didn't matter. I think even a lot of the lefties understand that they want their city to be safe and secure. They're right there on the border, so they don't want the crime coming across, like the slaughter that happened with the 9 Americans. That was right close to there, not very far away. So they don't want that kind of crime to come across the border and to be given safe harbor by the government in Tucson or the federal government or anything like that. So they did very good to vote against a sanctuary city measure. Shout out to them. There's some other things going on. I think in Jersey, they voted against, or put regulations on Airbnb, just other things that weren't really that big in my humble opinion. But the biggest one was Arizona striking down the whole sanctuary city kerfuffle. Now, let's get to Virginia. This is going to be probably the biggest topic here because I'm from Virginia. It's a special place in my heart, this particular topic, so I got to talk about it. Now, the Democrats, people on the left, the mainstream media are claiming victory here. The Virginia Democrats and the Virginia General Assembly got both chambers of the Assembly Democrat for the first time. They're in total control, this, that, and the third. They're trying to say that the GOP didn't do a good job of marketing. Donald Trump's impeachment hurt him in Virginia. You got Ralph Northam having some nerve to come out there and talk about, Trump's racist and all that and the third, even though he wore a blackface, allegedly, in his yearbook or the Klan outfit, either one, but I digress. The Democrats are out there celebrating this as a victory. But quite frankly, Virginia has been going away from its status as a red state, which it has not been in a very long time. And recently, within the past 10 to 15 years, it's been going away from the purple state status that it had. It's pretty much now all a blue state. Now, the question is why? Why did Virginia go from voting for George W. in 2004 to now pretty much being all blue regardless of what, with no chance of being anything different, not much different than California or New York? Why did that happen? Well, the answer is very simple. 1/3 of Virginia's population lives in Northern Virginia. Now, what's special about Northern Virginia, you asked? Well, I'm glad you did. Northern Virginia is basically the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, okay? D.C. is a very small city geographically, very small population, but that area right there around D.C. and Virginia and Maryland is pretty expansive. It's probably about 500,000 people in D.C. proper, if that, and if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But the metro area, I mean, you're thinking maybe like 4 to 5 million, a lot of people up there. And where do they work? In places that are dealing with the government, on Capitol Hill, contractors, all kind of stuff. I've heard that there are 2 million permanent federal employees. How many of them live in Washington, D.C.? a lot of staffers and posters and all kind of people that work in the DC area. It's a rich area. It is the richest area in the US. What industry is in DC? Like, do they build cars up there? Is it a DC, car manufacturer? Like, what is the draw to DC? It's a federal government. All that federal money emanates from Capitol Hill and just disperses in the immediate surrounding area. DC itself, Northern Virginia, and Southern Maryland, right by DC, not quite Baltimore. That's generally how it goes. So people that live up there are going to tend to be more liberal. Why? Because they're in favor of bigger government. Bigger government means bigger paychecks for them because they work directly or indirectly with the government. That's how that goes. So I'm not surprised that Virginia has gone blue. I mean, I saw the writing on the wall. I knew Virginia would be going down the hill when you had Bob McDonnell that got hemmed up. Now, if you don't know who that is, that was the last Republican governor. He served from 2010 to 2014. They tried to say that he was involved with corruption. He actually got convicted of corruption. And the case was so weak, I knew that it would get overturned, which it did by the Supreme Court. That's a whole different story. It took years, but I digress. They were saying that he was involved with corruption for taking the watch, some trips, and just little tinky rinky dink stuff from an investor, some random guy. They were trying to say that he was trying to promote his product in the office improperly, just dumb stuff. The money that was in question was like 150 grand. I mean, no money at all. But then Terry McAuliffe came after him, who, by the way, was Hillary Clinton's campaign chair in 2008, who was not from Virginia. He's from Syracuse, New York. He came and became the governor of Virginia in 2014 to 2018. And he got caught up in the whole Hunter Biden-esque scandal with China and some money that was given. I think in his case, it was like an investor or something to the tune of millions, if not to the billion mark. But that wasn't really a big deal. It didn't cause any kind of problems. There was no kind of call for a corruption case. He got sued by the Chinese investors, but it was not in there. Interesting how that works. One thing about Virginia, if you don't know, you cannot run back-to-back gubernatorial campaigns. So I think if Terry McAuliffe were to run again, he probably could have won again, but it was not him. It was his lieutenant governor, Ralph Northam, and we all know who that is. Then he became the governor in 2018. I was like, okay, it's pretty much over now. Party's over. I mean, I saw the writing on the wall. This has been going on for years. It's been a steady decline, I say, since George W. term 2. It's been a decline since then. So the only way to reverse it would be to just have DC annex Northern Virginia. Some would say it's a demographics thing as far as race. You know, they're using the term wrong, honestly, because demographics is not necessarily just race. It's about your income level, your gender, your country of origin. A lot of different things are demographic statistics, but I'll move on. People are saying that you have an influx of non-whites coming to Virginia from different parts of the country and the world. That's why Virginia is going blue. That's not necessarily true. People are moving in, and that's the problem. But the issue is that they are liberal. They are left-leaning. That's what they do. It's the same thing when talking about Californians going to Texas. You don't say Hispanic Californians, white Californians, black Californians, Asian Californians. You say Californians generally come to Texas, and then they try to change it to something else. They try to vote the same way they did where they were in California. It's not about the race. It's about your particular political ideology, what you adhere to and how you vote. These people are coming from different parts of the country and the world. They're not Virginians. They're recent transplants. It's the same thing going on in New York. New York City controls New York State. California, talk about them again. LA, San Fran control California. That's pretty much how it goes. With Virginia, Northern Virginia, basically Washington, D.C. controls Virginia. Once you get outside of the city areas, it's very rural and very conservative. But if you're in D.C. area, some parts of like Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, Richmond, maybe even a little bit of Roanoke, is more liberal. The bigger city areas pretty much tend to control a place. And when you have cities that are full of transplants, not native people, you're going to have much more of that. That's generally how it goes. Even in a place like Tennessee, where you have a totally red state, the cities are blue, but in the cities, there are so many conservatives that when you're talking about statewide voting, they have a big time impact. Virginia is the same way, but you get a lot of transplants that aren't from Virginia that probably come from California, New York, that are going to vote the same way they did when they were in California, New York. There's also the whole thing about gerrymandering, but that's a whole different story. I feel bad for Virginia. I really do. Shout out to Kentucky. Hopefully you're able to get that guy out pretty soon by election, of course. And shout out to Mississippi for getting a Republican in there. Hopefully you guys are able to maintain yourself as a state. I got to add one last thing here about quote unquote diversity and that being the problem with race. Mississippi has a very high black population. Okay. Think about it like this. Illinois has a higher white population than Mississippi by far. Mississippi is like maybe 50% white at the most. Illinois like 70, 75% white. But Illinois is pretty much going to always be blue. Mississippi, on the other hand, will pretty much always be red. You can't look at the race. You got to look at the ideology of people and where they're coming from. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that the elections were surprising at all? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. And also, which elections were surprising? What did you expect from Virginia? This has been going on for a long time. Like I said, it's been a steady decline into being a pretty much all blue state since towards the end of George W. term 2. Okay, Barack Obama years, that pretty much set it off, and we've not come down ever since. What will it take for us to go back the other direction? I can't call it. My only solution would be to annex Northern Virginia and make that part of DC proper. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.